Well, joining me is Liam Halligan, GBNews' economics editor. I mean, there we are. There's the director of, the boss of UK Steel. Costs £600 a tonne. You'll sell it for £600 a tonne. At yesterday's electricity price, it's £700 a tonne to make. And this is happening right across manufacturing. We've seen, Liam, over the last few years, both our UK aluminium smelters close, much of our refining go, much of our chemical industry go. Why does no one talk about this?
Well, a lot of the politicians in that building behind you, Nigel, may think that the British steel industry doesn't matter anymore. It employs about 35,000 people directly, and many tens of thousands of more in support structures. For a generation, UK steelmakers have had to deal with expensive energy, far more expensive than many of their European rivals, let alone the Chinese, of course, who have dominated steelmaking for a long time now. And our energy policies have literally pushed our steel industry to breaking point. As Gareth Stace has been saying for a long time, they're making a loss on every bit of steel that they make. Imagine the stress that must cause and the difficulties going forward. We've got a situation here where renewables, we keep being told by politicians that renewables are cheaper. But the
cheapest form of energy.
But cheap because of the subsidies that they got, and the renewable providers, because of the way the energy market operates or doesn't operate, it's rigged, frankly. The energy market means that energy is priced at what the gas price is for gas-fired energy. And when you have renewables, that means that gas-fired power, which still accounts for 40% of our electricity, those sources are then fired up, fired down, fired up, fired down. It adds to the expense. So the inefficiency of renewables, because you can't store it, the fluctuations for gas-fired power, that pushes up the price of gas-fired electricity that the renewables then benefit from, because they then sell their cheaper energy, subsidised, of course,
at the gas price,
that higher price.
I mean, this is
so renewables. It's great for virtue signalling and polishing respective halos, but a lot of people are making a lot of money out of this and telling our politicians how wonderful it is, and the politicians are not doing the research to work out what's actually going on.
If we go on down this route, we'll lose the rest of our heavy engineering, the rest of our big industry, because it's just too expensive to produce in this country. Those goods will then get manufactured in other parts of Europe, or indeed India or China, probably under lower environmental standards.
Using coal-fired power.
So the net CO2 effect of this globally will not be down, it'll be up, but we'll say we've reduced ours. I repeat the question I just asked to UK Steel, to you. How, Liam, how do we get a better, stronger voice in the public debate for British business and British manufacturing?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to use, the tragedy of the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis that we're living through now, the high bills that a lot of people are suffering from. People watching this programme, listening to the radio, they're frightened, literally frightened to turn the heating on. We need to use this national crisis to have a proper, honest debate and force our lawmakers to get beyond the simplistic world of good people want renewables, bad people don't want renewables. Look, Nigel, you're a former energy trader, commodities trader. You know more about this than practically anyone on the front line of the media, frankly, and in politics. You and I think, both agree that we want to see less pollution. We know that renewables have a place. We know that solar, wind, it all has a place. Hydrogen has a place as we move away gradually from fossil fuels. But we can't do the moving away from fossil fuels bit without the solutions being there to store the renewable energy, to make it commercially viable, rather than just putting all the costs on the common working man and woman, telling them to lump it, and they're ignorant if they complain.
No, we've got to keep going on this. Stay with me, please, Liam. My What the Farage moment this morning, you knocked me down with a feather. Couldn't believe it. Netflix, to forget Harry and Meghan and my part in their film for the moment. Netflix last year had UK revenues of 1.3 billion sterling. An estimated profit in the UK last year of £260 million. Guess how much tax they paid? £5 million. They avoided nearly 50 million quid worth of tax, legitimate corporation tax, in this country by siphoning the money off through a Dutch company. Liam, here we've got small businesses, ordinary folk I'm so angry, about to get bashed on the 1st of April with a near 30% increase in business taxes, and Netflix pay 5 million quid.
It's worth just saying those figures again, in case people thought that they misheard what you actually said. Yes, they took revenues in the UK of 1.4 billion. They made 260 million of profit, not a bad margin.
No.
And on that 260 million, they paid about 5 million in corporation tax. That's just under 2% corporation tax, whereas the corporation tax rate is, of course, 19%.
And going to 25.
About to go up to 25%.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to tax these global media giants, not least because so many of our politicians are completely bewitched by them and mesmerised by them.
I know.
When you just said those figures to me, something popped into my mind, and I want to share it with you because this could become quite important. Now, I watched last week Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, Keir Starmer do their Labour and business thing. And they repeated the notion that Labour wants to get rid of business rates, a tax that many of those small and medium-sized business leaders really don't like because it's levied whether you made any revenue, any profit or not. Labour think they can get rid of business rates, 30 billion a year, by the way, a huge amount of money, by levying more taxes on those internet giants, particularly the online traders. And the online traders, like Netflix, these companies are very, very difficult to tax.
They are.
They have an incredible lobbying organisation.
Yeah.
A lot of people in politics, advisors and so on, they then go on to work for the tech giants.
They're damn clever.
Can Labour get the tax out of these guys that allows them to get rid of business rates?
We've got to try harder.